Good morning, dear honorable educators. My name is KEANDRE. You may call me Andre, and I'm the speaker of a session, and I stand with you today to decline the arguments of this motion to support these motions. As we know, this motion, in terms of civilizations, this house would only allow women to own guns. This house believes that these motions to allow women to own guns, allow only women to own guns. I stand here to decline the proposition to these motions, with that I have arguments to decline this motion, to decline this proposition arguments. And at its course, this debate or motion is about guns. It's about the equality of women and men to have guns or to own guns. And our case today will demonstrate why this house must not agree, or why we must not agree to this motion. And before we proceed, it's essential to clarify what this motion entails by defining the keywords. So I have two keywords on these motions. By the motion in terms of civilizations, this house would only women to allow only women to own guns. There are two keywords. First, civilians. Second, allow. For civilians, it means a citizen or people that live together in a huge sphere or huge areas to live together with and expect to live happily or the others. And secondly, allow. It means to give an opportunity on something. By this motion, allow means to give opportunity for women to own guns, not for the men, just for the women by this motion. And after that, let us not ignore the fact what happened now, but we will demonstrate two key points or two key words, reasons why this house must not agree, must not support these motions. There are two pillars. First, equality. Second, more negative implications. For the equality, to allow only women to own guns, it's on contrary to equality. There is an abstract gap of women and men when only women be allowed to own guns. So there are a contrast between women and men, because only women allowed to own guns. And second, for the key points is more negative implication. I will explain you later the negative implications, whether it's long-term implications or short-term implications. So to allow only women to own guns, it raising many negative implications, whether it's long-term implication or short-term implications. And let us not ignore the fact what happened right now in the world. So first, what happened now? Men allowed to own guns, and it's true, it's a fact that will have. Second, women allowed to own guns. It's also just women and more men allowed to own guns, and they own guns to protect themselves from criminals' problem or their problem with others or personal problem with others also. And they own guns as a self-defense beside martial arts or things to defend themselves. There are some limitations on owning guns. It's what happened right now. So when they want to own guns, when man or woman wants to own guns, so there are some limitations to own guns, to buy guns or to order guns. So next, many regulations of owning guns. To own guns, so there are many regulations that they have to fulfill to own guns. As I said before, I will explain the implication, particularly negative implication, in a short-term implication and a long-term implication. First, negative implication. Women become more aggressive. Women can be more selfish than a man, and it is the problem. Secondly, Men become victims of murders of women because of women has guns and men cannot or not allowed to have guns or own guns. So men will become victims of murderers increasingly by the time. For thirdly, for aggressive women that has guns, they could use their guns to harm people, to harm a man, and then it will make a violence between them, between the man among us. Next, the next of negative implication. Huge problem on sector of equality on a gender. So men stand to be allowed to own guns. Because of this house will only women to own guns, men just stand to be allowed to own guns for this house. And next, women also have rights to own guns, and men can also have rights to own guns. After we know the negative implications, what are the solutions? So let me explain the solution. There are three solutions I have. First, much more better solution rather than to this motion. So besides the equality problem, there are more solutions. Besides that, rather than to this motion that this house will only allow women to own guns. Next, not fearing gender, but let us fearing the criminal's history. To have the same equality, to have the equality in this world, we mustn't feel the gender background, but we have to feel the criminal's history. And next, for the solution, make more regulations rather than on a gender problem. Because of the equality problem, men tend to be allowed to own guns, but unfortunately, this house just would only allow women to own guns. So because of that, make some new regulations rather than gender. And because of that, no contrast between them, no contrast in equality between man and woman. And it will be great in the future, and I believe it will be work efficiently and perfectly. In summary, our side has proven two key points or two pillars. There are equality and negative implication, whether it's long-term implication or short-term implications. Secondly, for these reasons, we urge you to not to support this motion. We push and you have to not to support this motion, because we know that this motion or this house in terms of civilizations will only women to own guns, but I urge you to not propose this motion. I urge you to not support these motions. That's all from me. Thank you very much.